Hello, everyone. This is Bill Apter, and welcome to the Apter Chat, wrestling's #1 podcast, where you get news and information you can't get anywhere else. You get classic, old school interviews. You get up to the minute news, and you get a co-host who is right. And I'm talking Josh Shernoff. And man, you really killed it. Welcome, Josh, back to our Apter Chat.
Hey, happy to be here as always, Bill. So I'm right, which is exciting, much to the chagrin of half our audience, I think.
I think it was 3/4.
Okay, but why don't you share with everybody why I'm right?
Well, and this was really, it's almost like the writers. Have you heard recently that Taz thinks WWE is stealing like a lot of his ideas?
Yeah.
Well, when Seth Rollins was spewing out these ugly words to Baron Corbin on Monday Night Raw, a lot of the things that you specifically said, almost the same verbiage, you are the reason for the worst ratings we've had or the ratings going down. This is stuff you have been saying for weeks. So maybe Seth Rollins or some of the writers are Apter chatters, and they said, why don't we just adjust this because it's already out there?
Yeah, I don't know, but hey, happy to help. Look, I did find that interesting though on Raw, because it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you have Seth Rollins coming out there talking about how, like, what's a Lucha House Party and what's this and what's that. And that's all well and good. But then they dump everything on Baron Corbin, which I get, that's storyline wise and everything like that. But it's kind of like it's their way of saying, yeah, we hear you. But at the same time, I'm worried that's just kind of like a placating, and Baron Corbin is here to stay for a while.
No, well, let's go to Headlock on headlines. Okay, so we're just doing a segue from what you just said, but we have to make this an official Headlock on headlines.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen, and I think they're really telegraphing this, is that Braun Strowman will be at the pay-per-view, and he's going to cause Corbin to lose.
Okay.
Even if it's just a video on the old Titantron there of, I'm coming out to get you with these hands.
Well, yeah, but he can't. I mean, he can't lose if it's just a video. Like, he has to at least come out. And here's the thing.
He'll be distracted. He'll be distracted by the video, and that will cause the loss. He'll think
who's he losing to?
Well, Braun Strowman, hopefully.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I get what you're saying, that there'd be a distraction, but he has to actually lose to Braun Strowman. But
this is why I think Strowman is going to come back.
I think he will. So here's.
Well, wait. Let me just finish my thought here.
Oh, please.
Okay, because the reason that I hesitated there was because I couldn't find my Tic Tacs.
Well, as long as you have your priorities.
All right, so I'm back now that I'm not looking for the Tic Tacs.
Okay.
What I think is going to happen is that Strowman is going to come out, and there's going to be some sort of very quick knockout, and Strowman's going to win. It's going to be very fast.
I think you're right. And here's the thing to remember with this: Braun Strowman had elbow surgery, and I'm not minimizing an elbow surgery, but it's not. It wasn't his knee or something like that would keep him from being able to, like, get into the ring or whatever. Even if he had his arm in a sling, he still has so he can get these hand, like
I was just going to say that. You read my mind.
One hand. And honestly, that even puts Braun Strowman over even more as this monster. If, he does come into the ring, let's say he has his arm in a sling and Baron Corbin's laughing at him like this, and Braun Strowman just beats him with one arm. Like it's easy that it could happen. And there could still be an interference.
Think that even though Seth Rollins has got his hands full with Dean Ambrose, that the relationship with Rollins and Corbin couldn't be any worse, and maybe Rollins will do something to help that situation along.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the promo was without question an acknowledgement to the internet fans and fans in general. My concern, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about this on my So Says Shernoff special, which by the time you hear this will already be available at the Apter Chat, youtube.com/the Apter Chat. But one of the things that I'm going to mention in there is that the WWE shouldn't double down, and that's one of my concerns, Bill. And I'm curious your opinion on that. That
Explain that.
Sometimes it seems like, and I'll give you an example: John Cena, Roman Reigns. Those are two examples. When the fans say one thing and the WWE says, "Okay, I hear them, but we're just gonna continue to do whatever we want to do." And I have this concern that they mistake the heat that Baron Corbin has for like love.
They're
to
bringing
hate.
the fans in to hate him.
Right. I think there's this misunderstanding. I think they just genuinely don't like his performance. You know what I mean? So,
well, I'll tell you something. I was nicely surprised by his TLC match with Seth Rollins. I think the two of them had an excellent match.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe Baron Corbin's in ring. I've been harsh on him, but his in ring ability is fine. Like it's just the character, it's the presentation. They're just not. They haven't figured out what it is that's going to click with him, and I just think, this bad guy. This bad guy general manager role or something. Like, I understand why they think that works because people hate it and he's the heel and that should get the face over. But the reality is, it's just not it's so bad that fans are like, okay, I don't even want to boo him. I just want him to not be on my screen. And that's not what you want for your product, in my opinion.
Yeah. But I would say, well, Josh says, politically correct, Bill Apter here would say, well, Josh, however, when Seth Rollins started to say what he was saying, they confirmed all your feelings.
Yeah, it was a really great night for me.
Josh, to our Apter chatters, Josh generally DVRs Monday Night Raw.
Yes.
And because he has a family, he has kids that he needs to say goodnight to.
Mm-hmm.
And he always says to me when we're on Facebook, I am no spoilers. I said, I have to give you this one.
Yes.
And that's what it was.
Yeah. And, and I saw it and I watched it back and I was really pleased to see the acknowledgement. But I kind of feel like they're just placating the fans because I could see them back there going, it's a vocal minority and blah, blah, blah. So, whatever. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, what it does is...
Wait, cliche of the show.
I knew you were going to say that when I said that.
Bing, 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 bing.
It's cliche for a reason because it's used a lot. Here's one for you. When it's all said and done.
There you go.
There you go. This has piqued my interest for TLC. I am actually interested in seeing what's going to happen, and in that regard, they've created interesting television. The only problem is I'm interested basically to see, okay, is Baron Corbin going to lose? So now we're moving on from that and we can all breathe a sigh of relief.
Me too. But not a sigh of relief though. Are they going to move on with this?
Well, that's
and who's going to be in that spot?
Right. I'm sorry to cut you off there. I hate to cut you off as I wouldn't want to upset the couple of people who have made some comments on iTunes that they love the show. The show's amazing, everything, but they don't like my snarky comments cutting you off.
Yeah, but I've cut you off at times too, so go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an understatement, I think. But it's a welcome cutoff when it happens from you.
That was an overstatement, but go ahead.
Oh, but no, yeah. What was really interesting was I found out the person who posted that, I'm like, this name looks familiar. Yeah, they follow me on Twitter, so what's that all about, man? send me a message on Twitter.
Oh, relax, Josh. You don't take this personally.
Oh, I'm not taking it personally.
Well, it sounds like you are.
No, look, they're entitled to their wrong opinion of the fact that I'm cutting you off.
All right, let's move on right now. So we are taping this, by the way, about 2 hours before SmackDown this week.
Yeah.
Due to other commitments. Now, Josh, you're taping your special on Wednesday night.
Yes.
Which is our usual taping night, and you're going to be giving your predictions for TLC. So before we move on with the headlines, why don't you go down some of the matches here and get Wonderful Willie's predictions, if you will?
I would love that.
Well, me too. That's why I requested you do it. By the way, I want to let our Apter chatters know that if you have friends who are pro wrestling fans, turn them on to the Apter Chat. We would really appreciate it, because even though we've got millions and millions of downloads, there are a lot of people who still don't know we're out there, right, Josh?
Yes, but I will say at the same time, I was really pleased. I was down at the ECW arena for the Icons of Wrestling. I was filming some stuff for my So Says Shernoff special, and I was really pleased with how many people told me that they listened to our show. So shout out to those people, and they actually really enjoy our back and forth banter. They don't get so sad every time somebody cuts somebody else off.
What are you talking about?
What's that? Oh, I see what you did there.
Got it. So how about you go over some of the matches?
You want me to start? Let's start with Cruiserweight Champion Buddy Murphy versus Cedric Alexander. Excuse me.
Buddy Murphy is going to retain the title. He is on a red-hot streak. No, not saying anything bad about Cedric. He's great, but I think Buddy Murphy's going to retain that title. Very exciting performer, too. And so is Cedric.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great match. But one thing I'm curious your opinion on, why wasn't, with these type of athletes, why is this not a TLC match?
Because I think a TLC match with these two athletes, wrestlers, performers, too much gimmick for when you have two genuine, good professional wrestlers here.
Yeah, but it kind of feels like, if you think back to, and I understand this was a TLC match as opposed to a TLC pay-per-view, but imagine when the first WrestleMania 17, right? That wasn't the first one, but that was the second one. But that's the one everyone.
No, WrestleMania. The first WrestleMania was just WrestleMania. The second one was WrestleMania 2.
Oh, this character over here. WrestleMania 17 at the second TLC match, and but it's widely regarded as the best TLC match. Could you have imagined if instead they were like, let's have the Dudleys and Edge and Christian and the Hardys just have a regular match, and we're gonna do TLC for Austin and Rock. Like, to me, rather than seeing like Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin in a TLC match, I'd much rather see Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
No, I like those kind of I like those really high competitive matches with all the high-flying action, the false finishes. No, TLC would have ruined it. Next match, please.
You couldn't have high-flying if you get all those ladders.
Well, you could. Of course you could.
I know, I'm being snarky.
On the ladders, but it's just not. I want to see a good match without any shtick, without any gimmicks.
All right.
And that's what we'll get there.
Moving on, Elias versus Bobby Lashley in a ladder match. Lashley.
Elias is red hot.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that Lashley and little Leo Rush and maybe interference from some other people, I think Elias is not going to be successful in his bid to defeat Bobby Lashley.
All right. Finn Balor versus...
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
No, you didn't do anything wrong. There's a match that's going to hatch. It'll be... I was going to do a little Elias, but go ahead.
Okay, I think a little Elias was an appropriate amount. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre.
Well, I'm picking Drew McIntyre because Finn Balor has been missing some of the shows. I don't think he's at 100% capacity. But even if he is, Drew McIntyre is going to win. Drew McIntyre is really growing as a superstar. Although in brackets there, I don't like what they're doing with he and Dolph Ziggler, making him look so vulnerable. But I think that Drew McIntyre will overpower Finn and take this one.
Okay. The Bar versus the New Day versus the Usos, a SmackDown Tag Team Title Triple Threat match.
Hard to pick because they're all kind of on the same level at this point.
Mm-hmm. Each one is a 5-time tag team champion.
Yeah.
Team.
Well, thank you. That's very good statistics. Did you research? So
I
you
always
keep
do.
your job. You keep your job as co-host. This is excellent. I've got people knocking on the door here wanting to be co-hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. You're the best.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick.
That's it. No. Nick was great.
Thought I'd make
Nick
you
was great.
uncomfortable for a minute.
No. I enjoyed my podcast with him very, very, very much. He was great to work with there.
Cool.
So I'm going to pick. Let's see, the Bar. I'm going to pick the New Day for no reason. Just one of the three of them.
So you're just booking it the way that WWE books.
Well, that's really sarcastic. See, that's nasty, and I'll tell you why.
How was that nasty?
Look, I'll tell you why. Because you're not in that office with these people booking the matches. So it's like somebody who bitches and moans about a wrestling match. Oh, that guy couldn't do this. He couldn't get his leg up. But he's never been in the ring. Yeah. Unless you're in the booking office, you can't say stuff like that.
I mean, in fairness, I have both been in the ring and been in a booking office. So
yeah, but what booking office in the police station, right?
Yeah, that's not.
No, I know you were,
true.
But I'm talking about actually being there and saying, "Oh, this is what these guys do."
Okay, I'll tell you what. Offers out there. If WWE would like to hire me,
no,
to be
they can't afford you. They can't afford you because
I will
they
book
don't know.
one.
They
don't
know
Raw
what you
for
make
free.
here. Yeah, but when they find out the salary you're making here, they can't afford you.
Okay.
That's it.
That check's still in the mail. But no, I will allow them to hire me for free for. I'll give them 1 month. 1 month of booking for free. How's that sound?
Stop pimping for yourself. Let's go to the next match.
Okay. This one I don't cover. I chose not to cover on my show because I didn't really feel like talking about it on there because it's,
you haven't done your show yet.
No, but I'm not going to talk
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about this.
Well,
yeah,
let me talk about it.
There's already a script. But this one, I want your opinion. Natalya versus Ruby Riott in a tables match.
At first it annoyed me to see that Jim the Anvil Neidhart table. It really did. And I said, how cheap. But then I looked back through history from the days like Terry Funk taking his father's watch and or something from and being very emotional about I forgot what the watch incident was. I'll have to look that up again. But other wrestlers that have used stuff from their parents,
right?
And I looked at it, and it's a commonly used old school wrestling gimmick. So what the heck? Why not? You know what? I knew Jim the Anvil Neidhart really well, and he would have said, "Book it, do it." That would have been great.
I'm sure he would have.
When I'm dead, slam somebody through me.
I'm sure he would.
Natalya will win that match, by the way.
Oh, I hope so. But it just seems, no matter what, it seems like a weird thing if you're going to put someone through the table of like that. It's just a weird. I've never been into that. Going back to the Big Boss Man and the Big Show's feud with like the Big Show's father's funeral. I just don't find that stuff to be amusing. But that's just me.
Somebody broke Terry Funk's father's watch. I think
that's a little. First of all,
if that's what it was.
Yeah, I don't know, but
After
this
chatters
just seems.
chime in. It's fine.
Yeah, let us know. Twitter at the Apter Chat.
Yeah.
By the way, I wanna stop here at the 19-minute mark and just about the 20-minute mark actually, and apologize for getting a little snarky because I talked about those iTunes things and then I decided to play into those people, and I apologize for that.
Yeah.
I really shouldn't be
Wait a
offended by
minute. You know,
people.
you're now. This is my time of picking the winners and losers for this Sunday's pay-per-view. Josh, we got to
Yeah.
stay on task.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can apologize. It's done.
Well,
You
not.
apologize.
I was apologizing to you, not to those people.
No,
Okay.
you don't. Why are you
Um,
apologizing to me?
well, because I want you to have a nice, fun, enjoyable thing, and
I
I'm
am. I'm
still
now enjoying coming back at you after 18 episodes.
good. That's
Yeah,
that's what I've been
yeah,
trying to get out of you
yeah,
this whole time.
yeah.
This
Well,
is
you got it. You
fantastic.
got
All
it.
right,
You got it.
then I rescind my apology. Okay, so you
The
think
heel
Natalia?
after is here now.
Good, good. Some could say he's been there all along, just waiting to come out. Um,
What's next, brother?
all right. We have a triple threat TLC match for the SmackDown Women's Championship
Oh
with
yeah.
champion the man Becky Lynch versus the Queen Charlotte Flair versus the Empress Asuka.
Something's going to happen where Asuka's going to win this, and Becky and Charlotte are going to be more pissed at each other than ever, and it's going to, yeah, Asuka,
Okay, interesting.
yeah, she's the one person who you really wouldn't pick
Here's my
for
concern
this
though
thing.
with that.
Wait, don't spoil your own show.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not.
Okay,
Um,
what's your concern?
Here, my concern is when there's such a hot act like Becky Lynch
Oh,
and
don't
a
say
feud with
act. Come on, this
what?
is wrestling,
Okay,
a
it's a
hot
hot.
commodity.
I mean, hot act is how you know anyone
How
would
what?
refer to it.
No, but it's really a hot performer.
Yeah, like a
I don't know.
performance, like an
We need a
act.
word. We need a word. It's not an act.
Okay.
Act is always a curse word in pro wrestling. We're gonna find another word here. A hot
Well,
chick.
wow. Okay, so while you have a hot storyline, or storyline
Yeah,
bad
great.
too?
Well done.
Well, how is okay? I'm gonna pick my battles here. When you have Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, my concern is that you put that championship on Asuka, and all that's gonna happen is, I mean, look at Nakamura. He's U.S. champion, and he's not on the pay per view. He's hardly ever seen doing anything of any worth. And my concern is that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna put the title on Asuka. She's going to basically fall into that like the Authors of Pain. They won the tag titles, and that lasted all of like 5 minutes, and it was
Yeah, but no, I don't see that. I see this somehow heating up. Well, you couldn't beat her. You couldn't beat Asuka, could you? And you couldn't beat her. Whoo! It's something. So it puts them on even ground.
okay. The Raw Women's Champion Ronda
A level
Rousey.
playing field.
I gotcha. The Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax. Who do you
Yeah,
have?
listen, this is going to be very interesting because Ronda Rousey being that real fighter type, and Nia Jax is just she's brutal. And after we
I
saw what
agree.
Charlotte Flair did to Ronda Rousey, I think she might get the crap beat out of her again by Nia Jax. However, if Ronda is fast enough and gets out of the way of that Hogan-like leg drop,
Mm-hmm.
Ronda may be able to get past her and win. But I'm going way out on a limb here, and somehow I think that Nia Jax is going to win. Might Tamina Snuka have a hand in this? You know something, brother? That might happen.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Little Jimmy Snuka coming out from my past there.
Yeah. I chose not to acknowledge your Becky Lynch. But
No, it
that
wasn't
was
that good.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Okay, brother, what's next?
All right,
In
Superfly.
the TLC Wonderland.
We got Braun. That's a good one, actually. You do that really
Thank you.
well.
Thank
Braun Strowman versus your favorite Baron Corbin in the tables, ladders, and chairs match. We kind of
My
already
favorite,
covered
you know,
that.
I was never nasty about him. I didn't
No, you
always agree with your
no, you never were
uh
nasty about him.
your,
You're
your
very
rants
apologetic.
on him. But when you're saying my favorite, I think he's good in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
He will never win an Academy Award
No.
because he's not that great of an act. Uh, um, however,
Yeah.
different bill you're getting this week, huh?
I am
Um,
loving this. I feel like people are going to crap all over me
I
this
don't
week.
know. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like because, and I should also preface this at the same time. I took a week off from being sick and came right back around to being sick again. So I am, if you can't tell by my voice, and I am definitely kind of
No, come on.
out of
You
it
can't.
today.
I'm
But
just no, but and I'm
no, it's
up
good.
on it. Braun
No, I don't mind.
Strowman's going to win.
I'm glad to get this out of you. This is exactly what I
Braun
want.
Strowman will win, and I don't know who the next general manager is going to be, or acting
Do you think we
general.
need one?
Yeah, it should be me, but it's not going to be me. Uh, you know who I think they should pick?
Who?
Paul Heyman. No, that's another topic.
Yeah, no, that would
That's
be
another
interesting
topic.
though. But
No, I
hey,
think
if they, I'll tell you what, Bill, I'll make you a deal. If they bring me on the creative team, I'll make you the general manager. How's that sound?
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
I appreciate it. You got a deal. Here,
All right.
let's do pinkies. It's a deal. Okay.
I don't. Not sure what
You,
that means.
it's a generational thing.
Okay.
You wouldn't understand it.
I'm okay with that. You do pinkies, and I'll just keep reading the matches here.
Yes.
You're going with like a pinky swear, right? Where
I'm
you
not sure
link,
what
where you,
that is,
it's like a
but no,
handshake, but with your pinky fingers.
something like that.
Okay.
Something.
R-
It's
So,
visual.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say something like that, or what? Now I kind of want
No,
to
no.
know.
I have my cell phone on vibrate.
Yeah, I
My
can hear it.
Deja, and I was trying to look and see who it was. So when that was just a segue.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
let's go on here.
Intercontinental Champion Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose in a TLC match. Right? No.
Yes. What's
Is
no?
it a TLC match? Yes.
Yeah,
I'm reading this
yeah,
off the WWE's
yeah.
website to get the list of the matches
Well,
here,
they
and
must be correct.
they're not listing it as a TLC match.
Well, whatever happens here, Dean Ambrose is going to be the victor in this. It's time for him to not be overlooked. It's time for him to get a belt. It's time, Seth Rollins, to let you know. Oh, I'm trying to do my Dean Ambrose, just came out.
Is that what that was?
I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
trying. But
I thought that was you just getting angry on like you're his mouthpiece now.
no, I think Dean Ambrose is going to win that match
Okay.
and gain the championship.
I could see that happening. But yeah, for whatever reason, I guess I had it in my head that it was a TLC match, and it's apparently not.
Well, apparently on Monday Night Raw this week, Seth Rollins wanted a TLC match before his TLC match with Dean
And he
Ambrose.
got one. What did
Right.
you think of that match, Bill?
So this has got to be a TLC match. I mentioned at the beginning of this of our Apter Chat here, I thought it was really good. I thought Baron Corbin and Seth Rollins put on a pay-per-view quality match.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was.
Well said. Well
Yeah,
said.
I don't really have anything else to add to it. I actually, you know
Yeah.
what? Look, I think I said this earlier. We talked about it earlier. And Baron Corbin, for as hard on him as I am, I mean, he's fine in the ring. I thought it was a really good match. I just look, nothing would make me happier than to see them take a guy like Baron Corbin, kind of rework him, change some things up, and breathe some new life into his character because it just doesn't work the way it is. And
Well, and again, in your opinion.
yeah, which remember I hold that in high regard.
You do, and
Yeah.
so does Seth Rollins.
Yeah, and he apparently holds my opinion in high regard, as we found out. But yeah, but I have no business giving an opinion of what they should be doing on the booking team. I'll just sit back and wait until I say something, and then they do exactly what I said.
Well, unless they do what Taz says.
Right. Although I think
See,
Taz
the
and I have
booking
very
right
similar
now, the
opinions.
outside booking committee right now is Josh Shernoff and Taz.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I don't think they could afford Taz.
No. So anyway, so what else is happening? Now, again, we can't cover SmackDown because it hasn't started yet. But
We can talk about the Authors of Pain losing. That was
yeah, you know what? I really had strong, huge, high hopes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to sing the song. I really had high hopes for the Authors of Pain. They were going to be in the genre of the Road Warriors. And the first couple of times I saw them, I said, man, these guys are really kick-ass. And now they lost the title this week to Bobby Roode and Chad Gable.
Yeah.
And Drake Maverick was pinned in that match. It just, to me, I felt like they were off their game. They looked sloppy to me in that match.
Here's my feeling on them. The second they dropped Paul Ellering, I was like, yep, they're gonna go the way of the Ascension. It was just they for whatever reason, they didn't understand that Paul Ellering was a really valuable piece of that team, in my opinion. And that took something away from them. But then you've got Drake Maverick, who they've made into like a comedy act, which not only hurts him as general manager on 205 Live because they're like,
they mentioned, by the way, Seth Rollins mentioned that there's a cutoff here because I don't want to forget this. Is that Seth Rollins talked about the ratings being lower, not to be just because of Corbin, but like, hiring people to like pee in their pants.
Right.
We're talking about Drake Maverick.
Of course.
So yeah, they have made him into shtick.
And can we talk about for a second here, you say cutting off, and I don't mean to keep going back to it because I truly, and no one's going to believe me now, but really couldn't care less. But for the people that actually do listen and enjoy us, I don't think there's anything wrong with cutting each other off. We're having a chat.
Well, then cut it out. Let's keep going here. I'm cutting you off here.
Okay.
Let's keep talking.
You know what? I retract.
Stop
that
apologizing.
Statement. No, I'm not apologizing. I'm literally doing the opposite of apologizing.
It's coming across. It seems like this is just grating on you. It's grating.
You know what? It does. And here's why. When somebody gives a 3-star review saying great show with a bunch of exclamation points and then talking about what a hero you are to the business and how incredible you are and everything, and then they give your show 3 stars because they don't like that I will occasionally cut you off.
Well, then stop doing it.
Well, no, I'm okay. Okay. I'm gonna get off my soapbox here.
No, I get that. All's fair. And it doesn't. Wait. What you can't do, and our topic today is from print to internet, and part of that is coming out of just what you said right now. Is if you let the people online, and we love that 3-star person, we love you. Please keep listening to us. But if you let them get to you, it'll stop you. No. It'll bring up an anger. It'll stop you from doing things you should be doing.
No, I understand that. I completely understand that. But here's what I'm saying. It's not getting to me as in like, oh, I'm taking it like a personal offense. Like, oh, they don't like me. They don't like the way that I do. Otherwise, if that's how I felt, I would have been on my best behavior today. And I'm certainly not.
That's how you felt.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. Because I don't feel that way, but
I feel that you feel that way.
Okay, but I don't. What I don't understand, and this isn't just for my podcast. I felt this way when I first started listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson, and I would see online, all these things about like. They would say like, oh, your show's too long. Or they'd say, oh, how come you did this? Or how come you did that? And I would always just think to myself, like, just shut up and enjoy the show. It's a free show. Like, why are you giving them such a hard time? I don't understand
Because
it.
it's internet.
Yeah,
And we're asking for it.
and that's
We're
kind of the
asking
point.
for feedback. If
No,
you want feedback, you're going to get it
fine.
both.
And that's fine. But here's what I don't understand: when they talk about how much they absolutely love the show and love you and all of that, they don't understand that for as much as they love you, they're hurting you. They're hurting you because they're giving you a bad review. I don't care, but they're hurting your show by giving it.
But the review doesn't mean, you have to understand that through the 50 plus years that I've been doing this now, it's like an actor or whatever reading the theatrical reviews. After a while, it doesn't matter as long as your people are staying with you.
I'm not articulating this well. What I'm trying to say is I don't care about their actual review. I don't care about if that's negative or if they say something negative about me. I'm quite comfortable in my own, in my abilities and the success that I've had. Yeah, I'm fine. If they don't like me, they don't like me. If they do like me, I really appreciate that. That's great. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. Don't get me wrong. What I don't understand is why, if they're like, oh, these people were like, Bill Apter is a thesaurus of wrestling history and blah, 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 and we love him and he's phenomenal. And then they're like, but I got to give the podcast 3 stars because Josh talked over him. Like, what? If you think he's that great, if you think that Bill Apter is that amazing, give the man 5 stars. Like, I don't understand it. I just don't get it.
They can't give me 5 stars because you cut me off.
I don't know.
Let's move on.
I should have saved this to talk about with our topic because it has to do with it.
This is a lot of fun.
No,
I'm having a good time.
I'm having a good time too, and that's the thing.
Let's get back to wrestling here.
All right. Okay. I thought we were having a good time. So
something to wrestle. We need something to wrestle.
We're having a good time doing this. So let's stop it and get back to talking about the authors of pain.
Something to wrestle with. Let's go.
Have you ever listened to something to wrestle with?
Right. Where were we?
We were nowhere really. We were talking about the authors of pain and how we think that they're doing a terrible job with them.
Let me bring it back to there. So you know what would be a great WWE match?
What?
Drake Maverick, because he's really good, as you saw in Impact Wrestling, against Leo Rush.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
That would be a good match. Maybe we'll see it down the line.
Who would you root for?
Leo Rush. I like Leo Rush.
So you would be standing at ringside going, Leo.
Something like that.
You would do that. Okay. All right. So what else have we got on the headlines? One headline that I had mentioned, and by the time some of you people are hearing this, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks will have done their curtain call at Ring of Honor.
Yeah, are they finishing up at the pay-per-view, or are they finishing up the TV tapings the next night?
TV tapings, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be it, Bill.
The world is going to change the way we know professional wrestling at this point, because whatever Cody and the Young Bucks and whoever else they have with them, they're going to start making statements fairly soon. And even though they all say that they're going to have nothing to do with that show in April on WrestleMania week at Madison Square Garden, I think that's bull-loney, and that they will all be on that show. How could they turn down exposure at Madison Square Garden, unless, of course, Ring of Honor and New Japan says, well, you're not part of us, so we don't need you here.
Yeah, that's a great point. But at the same time, I wonder, Cody has wrestled at Madison Square Garden numerous times. So
but not in the capacity of a major star.
Oh, sure.
Like he is now.
But is he going to be put? How much if you're Ring of Honor in New Japan and all eyes are on you, aren't you going to take that opportunity to promote the guys that are hanging around?
Oh, of course you are.
Yeah, so I don't know that they're even going to, like you had said, unless they don't want them there, and I don't know that they're going to want them there.
Yeah, that is.
And not anything personal. I don't mean that like they're going to be upset or angry about them leaving. I think just it's a business decision. You're not going to, unless you're. There have been promotions in the past that are.
Well, they may become competition. direct competition.
Right. And honestly, I hope they don't. I would hope that if they start their own promotion, as is rumored, I'd hope that they would continue that working relationship with New Japan and with Ring of Honor. And I would like to see that because I think that that's really healthy for the business.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So going to be interesting to see what the new year brings. What's your New Year's prediction, Josh, for, you know what? Let's hold this. We still have another week or so before New Year's.
Uh-huh.
Let's do a New Year's Eve prediction or New Year's prediction, and we need all the Apter Chatters to jump in on this thing.
Well, a New Year's prediction for what? And we have 2 more shows after this before we have.
Well, their predictions for the new year, what's going to happen in January to the world of professional wrestling, and you can even make them outrageous.
Okay.
If you want. How about that, Josh?
Send your New Year's predictions to the Apter Chat at the Apter Chat on Twitter, and we would love to hear from you, Apter Chatters, who I love and appreciate.
Here he goes again.
Save for maybe 1 or 2 of you, but no. Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot I have something to promote. Oh, let me rephrase that then. I love all of you guys and girls. Really appreciate all the support and all of your negative comments. I'm gonna try and learn from those. So thank you so much while you check out the So Says Shernoff TLC special.
I hate sarcasm. Oh,
yeah,
drives me crazy. Well, let's get back on.
Wait, can I ask you
here.
a question? Why do you hate sarcasm?
Because it's too sarcastic. Can we please get on with the with our show here, Josh?
You literally just hit me with sarcasm right there.
I did.
And that felt good, didn't it?
Yes. No.
It didn't feel good?
But our Apter Chatters don't want to hear this. What is the big issue that Brock Lesnar is not defending the title on Monday Night Raw? You know what? Just the fact, and this has nothing to do with Baron Corbin, but just the fact that the people in charge of the WWE, in charge of Monday Night Raw, are letting this slide, that they're using all the other champions to make up for the guy who really should be there. This absolutely stinks that Brock Lesnar is not showing his presence on Monday Night Raw. He's the Universal Champion.
Okay, so when I was growing up watching wrestling, it was a very different product. It wasn't, I would watch, Saturday morning Superstars or Wrestling Challenge or something like that. And then Primetime Wrestling, which was really just a clip show surrounded by, of course, the amazing Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. But the matches themselves, there was a lot of enhancement talent. There was a lot, but you would occasionally get a big match. And that big match was for the Intercontinental title. I'm sure someone will be able to say, oh, it happened on this date or whatever. But to my recollection, I cannot think of a single time watching Superstars or Challenge or Primetime Wrestling where the WWF Championship, specifically when it's being held by like Hulk Hogan, was ever defended on any of those shows. But Saturday night's main event, you would get it on a big show like that.
You knew Hogan was there. People, when they mentioned Brock Lesnar on Monday night this week, I went like, "All right, he's still on Raw, right?"
Yeah, but here's the thing, and it's a completely different presentation now. They still do, a very watered down version of the Attitude Era format and formula, but it's not the formula that it was, in the 80s and early 90s. But I'm the point that I'm making here is that used to be the way it was. That was what made that title so special, was you saw it at these big events. Now you would have pre-recorded interviews and promos and stuff like that. And the big difference here, and I'll acknowledge this, on the flip side of it, was a guy like Hulk Hogan was making towns. Hulk Hogan was wrestling every night.
Yeah, he was in the territory.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, no, I'm not the territory. You know what I mean.
I call it the territory. He was in the WWF territory at that point.
No, but I'm talking about once the territories were done. I'm talking about the fact that the house show loop, he was doing the house shows.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
He's right.
I just thought I'd jump on you every time I say something like act or say something like
No,
heel, you know?
get me.
But no, I think that if Brock Lesnar were working house shows, I don't think anyone would complain.
I don't either.
And so I do. So I just wanted to say that because I wanted to say that I am acknowledging both sides of this. I like the fact that he's not on TV that much because I think it makes him a bigger attraction. I think half these guys, Braun Strowman, he never should have been on TV as much as he's been on TV. It lessened him. It may, all of these guys, they're overexposed with 3 hours of Raw.
IC title. The IC title is defended every few weeks on TV. I mean, they have tons of titles defended, but you see where Brock Lesnar could be back in the magazine days when we didn't know where someone was competing.
Mm-hmm.
They were always competing in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Well, sure, and that's I have it on good authority. That's where Brock Lesnar has been this whole time.
And Braun Strowman had his surgery there, and there were several title changes there as well.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're talking about back in the magazines, and I think that that's a fantastic transition for us into part 2 of the of the topic here, the evolution of wrestling news. And we talked a little bit about, with my scathing commentary on the internet, but we're not going to get quite back to that just yet because what I want to talk about is we mentioned, I believe where we left off last time, that in 1997, a little site called OneWrestling.com began. We talked a little bit about Prodigy. We talked a little bit about AOL keyword WWF, which I think first debuted in 1995. What I wanted to talk to you about, I think we left off when you came into work for OneWrestling.com.
Correct.
And so I want to pick up where we left off there. And if anyone's checking this out now and didn't catch last week's episode, go back, listen, because it was a really, really great episode of listening to you, Bill, get to, talk about some of the history of the wrestling magazines. And
I miss those days very much.
So walk us through when you started at OneWrestling.com. What was your title? What was your position there?
Well, there wasn't really a title. It was Bill Apter has joined OneWrestling.com because the fans knew me from the magazines already.
Right.
And I wrote columns. I was every night. I wrote a ton of stuff. I, as mentioned in the last episode, I was the first guy to put audio and video interviews on a pro wrestling website.
Can I tell you, that's something that I don't think you get credit for.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. I'm making it public.
I know you don't ever mind not getting credit, but I think you should. I think
I do. It kills me, but I don't like to show it.
Well, then let me do that for you because everyone can pile the heat on me. But no, I think that's something that is being glossed over. That
Well, remember, I was an audio and video hobbyist.
Yes.
I used to love doing audio interviews, and I used to, love shooting video all the time.
The idea of being able to put that on the internet, that really was something that was kind of ahead of its time. And I just wanted to take a second to give you credit.
OneWrestling.com used to put ads in, and thank you, used to put ads in the PWI magazines. We tell you what the wrestling federations won't. So I felt like I was almost going to work for an enemy, but I wasn't. Bob Ryder and Joey Styles were absolutely great. They were thrilled to have me on there, and it helped get me out of a rut because I was done at that point with the magazines, and I needed a new home, and they picked up where I stopped getting paid by the magazines. They picked up and started paying me for this.
Do you think that because in the beginning there weren't that many wrestling news sites. Now there's 1,000 of them, and you'll find a lot of the time.
Wait a minute, you're a statistician here. There's more. There's probably 1,623.
24 actually.
24 and a half because one of those is that what's the name of that midget wrestling federation?
Oh my.
Short Sleeve Samson belongs to.
I don't know.
I forgot the name of it, but shout out to Short Sleeve Samson. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get into shtick there,
No,
but
it's fine. You're allowed to cut me off. I'm not allowed to cut you off, but you're allowed to cut me off. That's fine. Uh,
uh,
I'm having fun with it. I
no,
don't.
go ahead. So back
I
to
don't
One
care.
Wrestling.
All right. So back to One Wrestling. So no, I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is, there before the internet was, and this is the way it is with anything. If you think of one thing that there could be on the internet, there's so many sites for it. And the wrestling news sites right now have a tendency to, they'll put out something that says, oh, yeah, as reported on the Wrestling Observer, or this one as reported on Wrestling Inc., or they're sharing information, which is definitely different than how things were in the magazines, because you very rarely had, I can't imagine you had, like, in WoW magazine as reported in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, like it wasn't gonna.
No, but the difference, which was almost similar to that, is like George Napolitano, who worked for other magazines, and I would go on trips together and shoot similar pictures,
Right.
so it looked like we were cooperating with each other.
Right. But you weren't, and that's what I'm kind of. So what's interesting to me is, while wrestling had its magazines, I feel like when the internet came along was maybe the first time we saw a lot of, how can I put this, wrestling journalism. And I don't mean that to say that there wasn't journalism beforehand, but when you're kind of seeing it more as like a newspaper would be, as opposed to a magazine, because a magazine is, like think about it, like something like Rolling Stone magazine, right? You'll have articles, you'll have a lot of stuff in there, but I'm going back to when it was actually just, just a magazine. Would not have been the same as a newspaper.
Correct.
Right.
Now,
do you think that that's a fair comparison?
Keep in mind something historical. First of all, let's talk about journalists on internet. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of the people who are on the internet, and it's not just in the wrestling sites, should not be called journalists. They find anything and everything wrong with everything. I love a lot of the wrestling sites, but there are wrestling sites out there who just look to debunk and knock everything. And that's why I wanted to, and I had offers from some of the other websites, but the reason that I wanted to go to onewrestling.com is because Bob Ryder and Joey Styles made that site an honest, check everything out type of site. Nothing was put on there unless it was checked out ahead of time like real journalists do. Mm. And that's where I belonged. Now, yeah, I also want to bring one other thing up, by the way, that you hadn't mentioned, and this is going to bring this all together.
Okay.
Is we were talking about wrestling websites and the beginning of them being Prodigy and AOL, etc. Mm-hmm. Back in the 50s, and I was just a baby back then, but back in the early 50s and the late 40s, what was the first thing that everybody loved watching on television?
Wrestling.
Yeah, professional wrestling. Yeah. And then it became a huge hit on the next thing that came into transmitting stuff we really want to see. The next thing after television was really the internet. So it was the infancy of pro wrestling was on TV, and then it was on the internet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can understand where you're going with that. Okay. I wanted to just point out a friend of the show, Matt Steffen, sent me over. He sent a picture to me today. His wife's uncle found this old book and just gave it to him. Copyright 1952. I'm going to share this on our Instagram. Bill, I'll send it over to you. It's called Wrestling Fans Book by Sid Feder. Do you know who Sid Feder is?
No, I know the name. Is Antonino Rocca on the cover of that?
I believe so.
Like leaping in the air?
No.
Okay. No, I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure who that person was.
It's
No, I'm thinking of an
says the
old
six
friend,
greatest wrestlers of all time, selected by Nat.
Lou Bay,
No, Fleischer,
Fleischer.
Fleischer,
Yes.
editor
You.
of
Oh, wait a
Ring
minute, Josh.
magazine. There you go.
Give yourself a face rake.
Okay,
Okay, you did it.
sure.
Nat Fleischer was the man who created Ring Magazine, the
Yeah,
Bible of boxing that's still around
he was the
today.
editor of
Nat
Ring magazine.
Lube, right? Nat Lube was his wrestling editor.
Okay.
But yeah, oh, I need to see the cover of this.
Yeah,
This
I'll send it over to you and I'll put it on our Instagram. But thank you to Matt Steffen, long time listener of the Apter Chat.
That's his name, Matt Stephan Longtime.
No, Matt Steffen, long time listener,
That's a long name.
a long time.
Yes. By the way, I
Um,
will be back to politically correct Bill next week unless you people
yeah, don't.
decide that you like this bill. So
Yeah.
let's go back
So yeah,
on the
let's say
topic.
politically correct Bill or Bill who tells you how he actually feels and gives you an interesting and entertaining podcast. You guys
I
just let
thought
us
we
know.
no, that's nasty.
What was that?
That's
You keep
nasty.
saying nasty. This
Nasty.
wasn't.
My
This
son
is
hates that word. But you're saying that none of our other ones were interesting and
no. I'm just saying that it's even.
entertaining?
I'm just saying it's more interesting and more entertaining when we get a little more personality.
We will. Well, you trying to tell me I have no personality?
Oh, see now you're getting hot.
Yeah, you're getting me hot. That's only my wife is supposed to do that.
Oh boy.
Oh, all right. Let's move on though with print to
Yeah.
internet.
So okay. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is the Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer, because we talked
Yeah.
about the magazines and we've talked about the internet, which of course he now has, an internet site. But there were also what were affectionately known as the dirt sheets.
Uh-huh.
And the reason that I wanted to bring that up is once upon a time you were an Apter guy or a Meltzer guy. That was kind of how it was seen. Now, of course, we know that it wasn't
Ridiculous.
just you. It was, but when they would say an Apter guy, they meant the Apter mags, which were the magazines that you worked for and were, associated with you.
Correct.
So, Apter guy or a Meltzer guy?
All right,
What
well,
did you?
first of all, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just. What were your thoughts on? Because you talked about because Dave Meltzer would have been a guy that would have been referred to and would have considered himself, I'd assume, a journalist in wrestling.
He came from a real journalistic background.
Right. So if you listen to a guy like Bruce Pritchard or a guy like Eric Bischoff, you will find that they are not a big fan of Dave Meltzer. That they felt that most of what he was writing was either made up or was told to him, but was not factual. And there's proof of that. I mean, there's tons of proof. That one of the most popular ones from Eric Bischoff's podcast they talk about was Mabel being the third man of the NWO, and that it was being discussed, and it was never, ever, ever even thought of being thought of. So you talked about joining OneWrestling.com because it was important to you that you join a site with journalistic integrity, for lack of a better term.
Correct. No, that's the perfect term.
Okay, so what were your thoughts? Did you ever have a thought or opinion on a guy like Dave Meltzer, who at times would print something that was that some would say was not true, it was made up?
All right. Well, back then nobody said what Dave Meltzer didn't put out wasn't true. Dave Meltzer and I, if you say you're an Apter guy or a Meltzer guy, it makes no sense because we did two totally different styles of journalism.
Yeah, but I think that does make sense.
Well, it depends what type of journalism you like.
No,
Did
well,
you
that's what I'm
like-
saying. It does make sense. So if you're
wait, are we talking magazines or OneWrestling.com versus Dave Meltzer?
No, for right now we're talking about the Observer newsletter versus the magazines.
Two different types of journalism. It made no sense to compare them. What we did at the magazines were enhancement stories.
Right.
We didn't
I'm
very
not
rarely. wait. Very rarely did we cover real news.
Right.
It was stories. Dave Meltzer, on the other hand, had all this inside information, and no matter how much you hear Bischoff and these other people saying that Dave wasn't right so much of the time, he was right so much of the time as well. Maybe not 100%, but it was so serious, and I think I may have mentioned this last week, that if a promoter knew that you were talking to Dave Meltzer, like let's say if they knew I talked to Dave Meltzer, I wouldn't have been allowed to cover their matches anymore.
Right.
Because Dave was the enemy. We were not at the magazine. We were publicists.
Right.
Dave Meltzer was the inside enemy who's taking stuff from the back room of these companies and telling everybody.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of the point of what I was trying to say is that you have Dave Meltzer who is telling all of these alleged behind the scenes stories. And I say alleged because there were some of them that were just not true.
Well, some of them, correct.
Right. But what type of journalistic integrity is there for a guy who some of the time is right, and then when he's not right...
No. The majority of time, he's right. When I used to get those newsletters back at the PWI office, that was the Bible of what was really going on behind the scenes, what they were talking about in the booking rooms and stuff.
But what about the stuff that wasn't right? And that's what I'm trying to, because that leads us to the well, yeah, but time has told us. I mean, Mabel wasn't the third man. It didn't happen.
Well, maybe it changed. Maybe that's what he was tipped off.
And that's something that he would fall back on, or someone who was defending that would fall back on, that plans changed. Correct. Except for the fact that, according to Eric Bischoff, and I'm using this one very, very popular example here, but according to Eric Bischoff, plans did not change. At no point in time was Mabel ever even considered, thought of. Never was that even anywhere in the ballpark of an idea by anybody in WCW. So
then somebody told Dave Meltzer, and Dave Meltzer bought that.
Yeah, I think it was Mabel.
It may have been.
that would be my guess.
That's a very good point.
Right, and I think, and that's the thing. I think a lot of the time, and this is of course just my opinion, I'm not sure how much Dave Meltzer was making things up, as he's been accused of, as much as being misled intentionally by talent.
Perfectly said.
But that brings us to
we made stuff up,
right?
In the magazines,
right? But that's an interesting thing too, because I was just about to say, but everybody kind of knew that, no one really took it seriously, but that's not true. You had plenty of heat on you for things that you had put in the magazine.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Even the good stuff, though, when people bought the magazines, people, as they watched wrestling and believed what was going on, we enhanced that belief with the magazines.
Right.
Yeah. So
now jumping forward to today, to
okay, wait.
News.
We have to interrupt here again.
Okay.
The biggest change in my magazine life was going to WOW magazine, because WOW magazine was, before I got there, for 2 or 3 issues, WOW magazine was a very smart magazine. They were trying to be a Dave Meltzer type of reporting institution. And then I came in, and a lot of people thought I spoiled it because I made it more of a fanzine.
And that's, I think, what it comes down to when you say an Apter guy or a Meltzer guy. It's kind of that kayfabe versus, I guess you could say a shoot, for lack of a better term there. But I think that's what it is. That's where that difference comes in. It's not really comparing
misuse of the word kayfabe, by the way.
That is not a misuse of the word kayfabe.
Go right ahead.
No, that's not a misuse of the word kayfabe.
Well, I say it is.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it right just because you say it is. No. Okay. Let me explain to you the use that I just did. Okay.
No, we are on a roll
I am
here
not
with.
saying that it is kayfabe magazines. We've already had this
Okay.
conversation with Jim Cornette that they are not kayfabe magazines.
Thank
What
you.
I'm talking about is the difference in preference of wanting to read a magazine that keeps kayfabe versus a newsletter that exposes the behind the scenes of the
Got
business.
it. You couldn't have explained it better.
Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect.
Man. All right. So that brings us to today. That brings us to news sites today. Um, do you think that wrestling news sites on the internet have hurt, helped, changed? They changed the business no matter what. They changed. Do you think they've helped the business? Do you think they've hurt the business? Do you think it's a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both.
If,
Absolutely.
if you had a choice and you could remove internet the internet news from the wrestling business, would you?
No,
Why not?
because some of it is really good, and you have to, it's just like my evolving career. You have to stay current with the times, and that would be a big mistake.
I guess I'm going more hypothetical because I'm talking about if there was an ability to without going down the rabbit hole of the reality of this, but if there was an ability to remove Twitter, Facebook, social media from wrestling and remove and just go back to the time like that's like it never
I got it.
existed.
I got it. No, I wouldn't do it. Because this has become, in a lot of ways, this has also become something that we need. It's brought a new movement in the way people watch and learn about pro wrestling, whether it be good or bad. It's brought it more into the mainstream, and so I wouldn't remove it because it's made pro wrestling or sports entertainment into more of a mainstream phenom than it ever could have been
Okay.
without that genre of social media
Well,
and websites.
you certainly would not have had something like All In
No,
without
no, great
without the
point.
internet.
Great point. Right,
And I think that
right.
that's kind of we all long for yesteryear sometimes, but I think that you make a valid point, and yeah, I mean this business would not be what it is today without the internet. However, there is a part of it where it's almost like, with great power comes great responsibility, that saying. And I just feel like it's almost a shame sometimes. You hear about the lengths of what Chris Jericho had to, we were talking about All In, what Chris Jericho had to go to, the lengths he had to go to keep that a secret, to the point where he even had to track down a guy who snapped a picture of him in the airport when he was flying in and get the guy to delete the pictures from his phone. And
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
you look at that and you just go, that, 20, 25 years ago, that wasn't a
Oh,
thing.
forget it.
That wasn't a
Exactly.
thing at all. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
and it's one of those things where I feel like almost wrestling fans have a tendency to cheat themselves. I've fallen victim to this, of just going, oh, I want to know, oh, a spoiler, but I need to know, so I look at it and then I'm mad at myself because there's no spoiler. And I'll tell you, I remember, and I'm curious if you have one of these. Do you remember the first time the internet spoiled something for you?
I don't remember the exact incident, but I do remember that it did happen.
Do you remember the first time that the internet got you to tune in to something?
You're talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
No,
So
no, I don't think the internet ever got me to tune into something. And the first thing that probably made me want to see things was the advent of um, no, actually, I don't remember. I don't remember anything that the internet did to make me go and want to see something in wrestling because I knew about it before it
Right.
was probably
And
put on the internet.
sure. And I mean,
So
you think about me being, 14 years old versus you being a staple in the business at that
six,
time
six,
period.
16 years old.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So obviously, there's going to be a little different for you, but I do, if you don't mind my sharing, I do have, memories of both of those.
Why don't you share that with us?
So the first one was actually my brother spoiled it for me. He read on the internet. This was before I even was like looking at sites on the internet. This was I was watching WrestleMania 14, and he said, "I saw on the internet rumor that Sean Waltman is going to be on Raw tomorrow night," and that's when he
Ooh,
came back as X-Pac.
yeah.
And that was, I remember the next night for the first time ever thinking to myself, man, if I hadn't known that, what an amazing moment this would have been, you know?
Yeah, right.
And the first time, though, that I remember it tuning me into something was again, my brother. My brother and I were up at Penn State for a summer study program. And we're up there, and
Penn State, not the state pen, correct?
yes, what this is the
Okay.
second time you've referenced to my alleged jail time.
Yes.
For
Well,
the
go
for
on.
those wondering, I have never been
Go on.
arrested. I have never been to jail. I
But
don't
he
know
has
where
a cell phone. But go on. Go on.
that sound that was the Apter Chatters
Well,
collectively smacking their
hanging
hand
up.
against their head. So no, what I remember. So we were up there and at Penn State, and this was back in 1998, and we had to go to like the computer lab, and everyone had like a little bit of time you could spend in the computer lab, and I remember my brother coming to me and saying, the rumor is that somebody saw them load Shawn Michaels' pyro into the truck for Raw,
Oh my
and
God.
this would have been, and it ended up actually being, Shawn Michaels' first appearance since WrestleMania 14, where he came to the ring. And he did, in fact, return. And I remember tuning in to Raw that night because I was like determined, like, oh my God, like, is this true? Is Shawn Michaels really going to come back? And I was really excited when he actually did. So those were my two, ironically, DX related memories of the first time that the internet kind of ruined something for me, and
Well,
then the
you know
internet got
what?
me excited about it.
I'll tell you why you never would have seen that on OneWrestling.com. Because when I started at OneWrestling.com, Bob Ryder was very specific in saying we don't do spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What can a site like a OneWrestling.com or any other wrestling news site out there, what can they do to be competitive nowadays? Because back in the day, the magazines, you had your way of being competitive in the magazines. It was more interesting stories. It was better photographs on the cover, better photographs within, right?
Correct.
These were ways that you could be competitive against your competition. But today, how can a wrestling news site, like for instance, like how could a OneWrestling.com stand out versus whatever other news site that's
It's you
reporting
know
the
what it
exact
is?
same thing?
It's habit. It's where you go. It's habit.
Well, I'm setting you up for a fantastic plug right now. Why should people go to OneWrestling.com who don't already?
Because OneWrestling.com is, as I mentioned, a trustworthy source. We also have a video channel, OneWrestlingVideo.com, where it's the exact URL where I do so many of my video interviews. But when you go to OneWrestling.com, you're going to get the truth and the news that you need to have. The other site that I swear by the way, let me just clear my throat, is too many Tic Tacs. I'm a big fan of PW Insider. Mike Johnson, I think, does an absolute great job. So I'm plugging them as well for people to go to PW Insider for. Mike is usually right dead on with he and the staff there are really pretty much dead on with everything they report.
I also think, and maybe this is just shameless, but we'd be remiss if we did not talk about Wrestling Inc. and WrestleZone.
Oh, of course.
Who,
yes.
Maybe we're biased here, but they've always done an amazing job of covering our show and covering my So Says Shernoff specials. And I am a fan of what they do there. WrestleZone was one that I kind of backed away from for a while, and they've kind of had a resurgence, I think. Where their quality has really gone back up to the level that people are expecting. So yeah, but it is a habit. I mean, but there are a lot of great sites out there, and I do think that something that you obviously paved the way for the audio and the video on these sites. A lot of them have that now, and that's something that you wouldn't get.
A lot
from
of them
magazines.
don't.
And more than anything else is up to the minute, instantly. And a lot of these sites now have, I shouldn't say a lot of these sites. I think all of these sites have a Twitter presence as well.
Oh, sure. Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
And
so you're getting your information even quicker. Maybe like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you were getting it what you thought was instantaneous, on the internet. And now on their website, and now you're getting it even quicker than that.
You're getting it before it happens.
Yeah, it's really
sure.
So I mean, and that I think we can kind of wrap up a nice little bow on this topic. But I do.
What I want to say is that right now, Pro Wrestling Illustrated is still alive. Fighting Spirit magazine is still alive in the United Kingdom.
I'm glad
there are 1 or 2 Japanese magazines out of there. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because that is something that, in this day and age where wrestling, where not just wrestling, any magazine, any print is kind of dying off. It is nice to still see those, and I know that people still consider, PWI 500 is one that people really like to get their hands on, literally get their hands on, as opposed to just
and the year-end awards as well.
Year-end awards. Yeah. So, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned year-end awards.
Yeah, me too.
We're going to have some information on our year-end awards next week, because we've got some fun stuff coming up that we don't want to. Yeah, the final two, and we don't want to spoil them because we've got
no spoilers.
Yeah, we've got some fun stuff going on. So we will be kind of making the announcement on the podcast after maybe you've already found out. So
this is big news.
Yes, this is pretty cool. But yeah, I guess we can we'll put a bow on this. Bill, this has been a really interesting conversation.
Hold on.
Do we have
hold on a minute. Hold on. Somebody's calling me on the phone here. Hold on. Hello. Can I hang on? Okay.
Oh,
Josh?
No. Yeah.
Dead air.
Oh, I was worried that
I'm going to hang up. I'm going to hang up.
Yeah, you should.
Dead air.
You should
Nothing
hang
keeping
up.
Me up. Yeah.
You know what those people should get, Bill?
What?
Smart hold.
Right. That's right. Exactly. Mac Davis, that great entrepreneur and professional wrestling, came out with Smart Hold.
But what is Smart Hold, Bill?
Well, tell us about it, Josh. You can answer your own question here.
Thank you. I will. Smart Hold is a message on hold service for only $35 per month. That's right. Only $35 per month. Plus, and this is the best part, Bill, there are no contracts. So let's recap that for a second. Smart Hold message on hold service, only $35 per month with no contracts. If you run a business where you place your callers on hold, one of your most effective and least expensive marketing tools is message on hold from Smart Hold. I don't think a lot of people realize that when you have your caller on hold, you have a captive audience. Replace the radio stations and CD players, which, by the way, is illegal. Or maybe you have some really bad music that came with the phone, or even worse, as we've been talking about, silence. With today's cell phones, placing a caller on hold to silence is deadly. Most callers won't be sure if they're still on hold, if they're still connected.
That's
right.
right.
They'll probably just hang up like you do or I do. Can you afford to lose that call, Bill?
No, absolutely not.
I couldn't afford to lose that call in my business, and that's why with Smart Hold, we make your caller's hold time more enjoyable and informative while the caller's hold time feels shorter. It also makes you sound more professional, because with Smart Hold, you get pro voice talent, both male and female, unlimited message changes, professional script writers, broadcast quality audio, fresh background music, music licensing fees, and even a Smart Hold player should you need one at no charge. All for only $35 per month per location served and no contracts. So go to www.smart-hold.com and order today. That's www.smart-hold.com. Be smart, get Smart Hold.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't have hung up had that person had Smart Hold.
Yeah.
And by the way, Smart Hold, I just cut you off and I apologize.
That's all right. You don't have to
Smart Hold.
apologize. Safe zone
Smart
here.
Hold is the sponsor of our weekly segment that's got such a buzz going of the Apter Classic audio interviews. And by the way, for you fans that will be coming to see us in droves at WrestleCon, I am working on getting a CD made of some of my classic audio interviews that you might be able to purchase there. And we'll have some Apter Chat merchandise. So you got to come to WrestleCon in New York City.
Yeah. So who is in the vault this week?
Well, I'm letting him out of the vault. One of the craziest, most maniacal madmen in pro wrestling. And he wrestled all over the world, and he was known for his brutality, was a man named Dick the Bulldog Brower. And he had an amazing feud with Mighty Igor and so many other people. But when I taped this interview, it was around 1971, and I talked to him about challenging Pedro Morales for the WWF Championship. And number one, during the interview, he said a curse word in Spanish, so you should know that it's there, against Pedro Morales. And the other thing is, at the beginning of the interview, Tony Marino made a comment in the dressing room that was taped at Sunnyside Garden in Queens, New York, and he and Brower got into it a little bit. So right now, let's go to the Apter Audio Archives, and here is Dick the Bulldog Brower.
Here once again with Dick the Bulldog Brower. Dick, one fan writes in, how does being hated by the fans affect your private life?
Listen, it doesn't affect my private life at all, because I'm successful, because I'm the toughest, roughest wrestler that's in this profession today. And the wrestlers around here now, as far as I'm concerned, there's none of them in this area, and this whole area is supposed to be the big-time wrestling. Well, the only big-time wrestler around here is Dick the Bulldog Brower. And you take these guys like this Tony Marino and this other world champion, Pedro Morales. I am the world champion, not him. Pedro Morales, as far as I'm concerned, he can't lace up my boots.
You couldn't get a belt to fit around your fat belly, Brower.
Listen, the guy, he's talking about fat bellies. He should try and buy a hat to fit on his head. He's got a fat head.
Well, let me ask you another question. Another fan sent in, he wants to know, is Bulldog Brower really crazy?
Listen, I am completely in control of my senses at all times, except at times when I'm in a ring, I don't know what happens, whether it's the noise of the crowd or whether it's just being in a ring and the danger that I have put myself in. So I go into that ring and I do anything that I can to win. I don't care what I have to do to win, because people don't say, how did you win? They say, did you win? And Dick the Bulldog Brower never has to give excuses. I always win.
Okay, Dick, is it true that you beat Buddy Rogers for the World's Championship once, but you lost it on some sort of technicality?
I beat Buddy Rogers for the heavyweight championship of the world in Maple Leaf Gardens in front of 14,900 paid admission fans. The place was packed. I beat him and I pinned him. And through a technicality by the Wrestling Federation, they said that I pulled him through the ropes, which I was supposed to break, and it was just a matter of they know that I will beat and destroy all the top wrestlers. So these promoters and the, the commission, the board and all that, didn't seem to feel as if I should represent professional wrestling as heavyweight champion of the world, and they hunted for an excuse to rob me of my title. I would be the champion now if they hadn't stolen it from me.
Okay, one last question. Some of the fans say in other parts of the country, Dick the Bulldog Brower is wrestling with, let's say, cleaner tactics. You have any thing to say to this?
Listen, there's no such thing as cleaner tactics. I don't change or alter my style whatsoever. I go into the ring, I go in to win, no matter how. I don't care if the fans are cheering me someplace else. Great, they finally realize the potentialities I have in becoming the next heavyweight champion of the world. And the reason why they cheer me is because they are now smart and intelligent enough to know that Bulldog Brower has got Brower power.
One last question, Dick. On the air, would you like to say anything to Pedro Morales, who's probably listening in now?
Well, this maricon Pedro Morales, as far as I'm concerned, is a disgrace to the wrestling profession. He shouldn't be the heavyweight champion of the world.
Do you think less of him than you did of San Martino when he held the title?
Well, I don't particularly care for either one of these because I don't like these people to go around patting people on the backs. As you know, Pedro Morales is the type of a guy that he looks at you with a big smile, and as soon as you turn around, he starts saying, that bum, that no-good guy. Pedro Morales is a real bad image for professional wrestling. Pedro Morales was lucky that he won the world title, and if he ever wrestles me, he won't have it any longer.
Okay, Dick, it's been a pleasure speaking to you again. Thank you.
All right, that was Dick the Bulldog Brower.
The man of the hour, the man with the power. He was scary when I used to shoot pictures around ringside. He was one of those guys that would chase the photographers. He was really scary.
Well, something else that is really scary is how quickly we ran through this episode.
Is it over already?
I think it is. I think it's time to go home, as they say.
I am home.
Well,
great comeback. Well,
sometimes you leave me speechless, Bill.
So don't forget, the holidays are coming up. The Christmas holidays are coming up. Is Kwanzaa done?
I'm going to put it on you for not knowing, so I'm choosing not to tell you.
Hanukkah is gone, but for the holiday season, my book is still out there.
Is wrestling fixed?
I didn't know it was broken, Josh. You can get it on Amazon or any fine or rotten bookstore, and you can also go to Audible and get the audio version, even if you have the print version. And don't forget to go to the apterchat.com to see our magnificent display of Apter Chat merch.
Yes. For anybody who has a comb over, you want to go get that Respect the Comb Over shirt. People will love that. They don't have to be a wrestling fan. They don't even have to know who Bill Apter is. All they need is to be follically challenged and choose to comb their hair over, and they will absolutely love.
By the way,
shirt.
that follically challenge on the cowlick on that shirt.
Yes.
There was an accident with Blue Chew. Fell on this guy's head that had the shirt. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. The cowlick just stood right up. But anyway, Josh,
promo code
there is
Bill.
some merch on the Apter Chat site that the little Apter Chatters can take advantage of.
That's true, and it's called Maggie Moo Finds a Friend, part of the Flufferton Friends series, and you can get the children's book and the doll that goes along with it, the plush doll. There's a link on the apterchat.com for that, or you can go to fluffertonfriends.com. Really appreciate you checking that out. What else do we have on there?
Where can people find you on Twitter?
They can find me on Twitter at Shernoff. Please send me your hate tweets about how much I was offended by the iTunes whatever.
That's not grating on him, right?
Yeah, not at all. No, and again, and I know you're going to cut me off on this, It's the principle of it.
So
I don't
I'm at
care.
Apter
There you
One
go.
Wrestling, Apter One Wrestling, to get me at Twitter. And Josh, I think that if people are listening to this on Friday, you and I will be at Ring of Honor on Saturday at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia.
Yes, we will. But we
So
can't say
come
why.
say hello. Come say hello.
Yes, please
We
do.
will-
I will
yeah.
be at Ring of Honor Final Battle in New York. So if you find me there, if you see me, I'd be happy to say hello to you. Please come by. Tell me that you're an Apter chatter.
Well, wear your Apter Chat T-shirt and your suit jacket. That would look very cool.
All right.
All right. Actually, hey
Deal.
Josh,
Yeah.
Josh, we should do that when we go on Saturday night to Philly. Let's dress nice and wear an Apter Chat T-shirt too.
Yeah,
I think it's
those
a
are
great
mutually
idea.
exclusive, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
absolutely.
okay.
So we will see all of you at
The matches.